Let's all go to the lobby, lobby, lobby. Let's all go to the. Let's all go to the. Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the. Let's all go to the.
What is up, brewskis? We are here yet again for another One Reel In. With me, as always, Marco, the fabulous Dupa.
The fuck is up, Denny's?
I am Adam Obesis Rodriguez, and if you've been following along so far, all month of October we will be featuring horror movie reviews, specifically by black artists, directors, creatives, writers, etc., etc. But before we get into that, we do have a beer to talk about, not review, because this is not the One Beer In podcast
That's
for
right.
this month. We will be going back, don't worry. But for now, what are we featuring?
Tonight's brew is from D9 Brewing Company. We finally got ourselves a brewing company.
Yeah, it feels good.
It's an Imperial Pumpkin Ale, which they have deemed head of the Horsemen, with a very sick graphic. Check that out.
Spoopy.
And unfortunately, no cold read.
No cold read. I will say it is a 10% ABV, so we're taking a little step down from last week.
Inevitably.
Yeah, it kind of had
Started
to.
hot.
Yeah. Put me in a tough position
I
here.
did.
Yeah.
Well, that's why I was trying to get us in a place where the pressure was off, right?
Yeah.
It's like losing the championship game,
Right.
right? When you've won like 8 in a row, you're like, the pressure's off to repeat.
Yeah.
So now we can kind of have the freedom to do, as long as it stays above 10.
Right. We're in the double digits. That's the rules.
That's the rules.
The rule set. We'd like to,
Them's the rules.
keep pumping it up as we go along, but we'll see how this month goes.
Here's the thing. Last week, did we not only drink one for various reasons, but number one being the ABV,
Yeah, too much.
right?
It's
So
too much.
maybe we
Yeah.
drink 2 of these, depending on how it tastes.
Sure. Yeah. Well, let's get into it.
Let's do it.
Oh,
I don't
yeah.
want it to get all over me.
Oh, wow.
Down
That's
there.
really pumpkin-y.
Oh.
So as I pour, I will say the movie that we're going to be reviewing is featured on Shudder. I highly recommend you guys watch it while you can, because we will be going full spoiler cast.
Shit.
In just a moment. Cheers.
Oof.
Alrighty. Well, as I said, warning, warning, warning. Your spoiler warning is here.
Yeah.
We will be getting into full spoilers for the movie Saloum, which, yet again, you can find on Shudder right now. Okay?
Okay?
Okay.
Is that okay?
Good.
All right.
So, this is a hot review. We actually just sat down and watched Saloum
Yeah.
on Shudder. Had a little less time to, I guess, formulate our opinions, but I feel like there's something to a fresh review too.
Yeah.
So, let me do a speed round, because I've heard the complaints. I've heard the complaints that people say I take way too long to get through the plot. So,
No, people didn't say that.
I've heard people, and
Some-
they've said it.
Some have said it.
Some have said
Yeah.
that I take way too... I'm doing it right now.
Yeah.
Okay, so the plot for Saloum. We are in Africa. Specifically in... I was looking for you to have paid attention during the movie.
I mean, I tried. There was so much information.
Yeah. Okay. Well, they are in Senegal.
Okay.
Senegal,
Yeah.
if you will. We're going to have a really bad time pronouncing stuff, so please bear with us if you're Senegalese.
Yeah.
But, so the movie takes place in Senegal. Senegal? Senegal?
I think it's Senegal.
Senegal.
My understanding is that most African words are pronounced phonetically.
Yes, but they speak French. So that's my only concern, because French is hard.
So if it was, how would you pronounce Senegal in French?
Sherry. Senegal.
Senegal.
Senegal. That's right. Senegal.
That's what I said.
Senegal. Senegal.
What'd you say? Senegal?
Senegal.
Senegal.
Yeah.
Senegal.
Uh,
Senegal.
So you have the gall. Yes.
Yeah. You have the gall to keep talking.
Join me. Let me join your podcast.
Thank you. So we actually start with the coup of Guinea-Bissau, which is actually a real thing that happened, but it was famously a bloodless coup, from what they said. But we're introduced to this group of mercenaries called the Hyenas. Very cool.
The mercenaries with a heart of gold.
Yeah, but we don't know that at first. We think they're cold-blooded killers at first. So we're introduced to them in a cool action sequence. Their job is to exfiltrate a Mexican drug lord, I should say.
Yeah. Respect his title of
I'm
Lord.
sorry. I'm sorry, Lord. So they do so. They're able to escape very nearly, but turns out that their plane is leaking fuel, so they're going to have to stop. So they make a emergency landing in I think they said the North Delta of Senegal, and so we end up in this very remote little village that's sort of like a out of the way kind of I'd say like a very low tech resort, like a place you can just escape for a while.
Mm-hmm.
We're introduced to the owner of this resort. He seems like a very nice guy. He says the only rule there is that you have to essentially do chores. It's like a bartering system, essentially, for your manual labor. That's how you're able to pay for your stay.
Yeah.
So we get a fun little, I don't know, moments where we see all these characters split up and go and do their chores the next day. But before that, we're introduced to everybody who's there currently, which is a couple who's apparently recently broken up, but they're also partners in making music, from what we can gather. There is, a police officer who shows up that kind of stirs up the pot because our heroes or anti-heroes are trying to lie low, obviously, until all this blows over and they're able to fly back away. So they go to that. I should say they go to that village because they're looking for a way to repair their plane and fuel. So they meet those people and also a deaf mute woman who is only recently there, who sees through exactly what they're doing and actually seems to know them. So she's a threat. Let's see, am I missing anybody? Who else is there? Oh, the servant as well.
Yeah.
Who seems very demure.
Yeah.
And I think that's it. I think that's it for our little group, our ragtag group. They go off and do their own things, their own chores. So lo and behold, through the lapse of that day, we get a bit more backstory on who these guys are individually, what their plan is moving forward, and we find out that the cop's onto the drug trafficker and wants him to basically help him to capture the mercenaries. The deaf girl is wanting to join them, actually, on their adventures because it turns out she's a fangirl of the mercenaries. Because it turns out they're not such monsters. The people who know that they're actually heroes. They're a bit more of like a Robin Hood.
Liberators.
Yes. So she sees them as these liberators. It was a farce that they went in and killed everybody in the beginning. It turns out they were already dead. So,
yeah,
that was a little trickaroo.
Trickaroo. That's it's a technical term.
The old trickaroo.
Trickaroo.
So, fast forward, we get a hint from one of the mercenaries who's also essentially a witch doctor, from what we can gather. He seems to have these magical powers, that they're being watched and something is off. and
Something's afoot.
yes, we're not getting the full story here. So we find out very soon after at a dinner that there's more to the kindly old resort owner than meets the eye. Turns out that he was actually a child soldier commander. I don't
Yeah.
know what you would call that.
Recruiter.
A recruiter.
You promised them a Camaro.
Right. And we get a flashback. We've been getting a couple of flashbacks here and there of Shaka, who's our hero essentially in the movie. And it turns out that he was actually a child soldier under Colonel Remington, as he was called. And he uses his gun that he took off of him eventually after he ran away. And ends up blowing him away. And thus starts the what I would consider the horror element of this movie.
Yeah.
Which we find out that
Hilarity ensues.
the Colonel apparently made a pact with an evil spirit, we can call it, a dead king who was betrayed by his people hundreds of years ago. And so all hell breaks loose. These demons come out. It's like it reminded me almost of like locusts you see in the end times. There's just a swarm of, it looks like embers almost.
Yeah.
Those end up taking over people in a nearby tribe because they end up being like in cahoots with this entire plan. And the way that they work is if you hear them, they kill you.
Yeah.
Essentially. So the entire rest of the movie is this sort of escape plan sort of situation where they're having to keep their ears plugged. It's like Bird Box, except for your hearing.
Yeah.
And they have to try to make their way out. Through that, basically everyone dies.
Yeah.
And in the end, they are able to escape by the skin of their teeth. Just their muscle guy, essentially, the deaf woman, and Chaka. Until Chaka gets pulled into the waters to join his the evil spirit that was lurking within the entire time.
Yeah.
I should say there was a preface and an epilogue in this movie as well that, and I'm gonna butcher this, but something along the lines of vengeance is a river. Your actions are the dugouts, which I assume to mean like where the river flows. And the only end to it is through drowning. That's essentially what the main crux of this thing was.
Yeah.
So, that's how it ends. Everyone claps, and it's a good time. It's a good time.
Yeah, it was great.
What's my time?
Yeah, you did it in about 10 minutes.
Nice.
So, good job. I'm
Nice.
proud of you.
Thank you.
See, now we can go back and fill in all those holes.
We can.
We can plug those holes. We got 45 minutes to an hour to plug those holes.
Let's plug those holes.
Let's plug away.
Okay. So, this is my second time watching the movie. I'd only heard about it.
What? Oh, you didn't know he had watched it before?
Yeah,
Oh.
I'd watched it before.
Look, you can speak.
I mean, if you're gonna make,
you're not a deaf mute.
if you're stop that.
Sorry, that was offensive. I mean, I tried. I mean,
If you're
I've done
if you're gonna
before.
make grunts, you
I
might as well
haven't
just
done
talk.
before.
Okay.
I assumed that all three of us were watching it as newborn babies.
no, you assumed wrong.
Oh.
No. I told you. I've been doing. Listen, for all you at home, I've been doing research. I've been trying to find really good
research.
horror movies. And
So far, so good.
Thank you. Yeah. So this is my second time watching it. I had heard about it randomly, actually through Twitter. Just somebody said, "Hey, you should watch Saloum.
Yeah.
It's really good." And so I did on a whim.
Yeah.
Very low barrier for entry. It was just under an hour and a half.
Yeah.
So I mean, I think even if you're kind of on the fence about the movie, it's worth a watch for that alone.
Well, let's put a Jesus, I'm forgetting words. I guess preface this by saying, like I don't know, like a warning to people who don't want to read,
Oh no.
who can't handle a little subtext.
Sure.
It is in French
It is in French. Yeah.
and a little bit of Spanish,
a little un poquito.
and probably some African in there too, like
Sure.
from different dialects and whatnot.
Yeah.
And not ASL, but sign language.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, is sign language just American Sign Language?
No. I'm sure there are different sign language types outside of America.
So there would be like Senegalese Sign Language, so SSL,
I mean,
as opposed to ASL.
They may use ASL. I'm not sure. Because I assume it's just like a language. You know, like,
Yeah, so if it would be like speaking a different language. This is really showing our ignorance on this one. But, I mean, I curious to know
Yeah.
if American Sign Language, Sign Language is a universal language that once you're taught it, it is like learning a third language or a second language for us. Third language for. Are you looking it up?
I was trying to, but they only have info on South Africa, which is not what we're talking about.
Okay. Well, anyway.
There's South African SL.
Okay, so there are different dialects
there-
of
yeah.
sign language.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
Good to
anyway. Yeah, so you had seen this already.
I did, yeah. And actually, even before we planned to do this movie review, I was telling you about it and
Yes.
saying you should watch it.
Yeah, you kept saying Saloum, and I was like, I'm never going to remember that.
Yeah.
And in fact, I didn't.
No, you didn't.
It was very...
So I had to force an entire show out of it in order to get you to watch it.
Not because I didn't want to. I just kept forgetting. Because it's
As
a
you
very
do.
hard word to remember.
Yeah. Well, we're ignorant Americans.
Yeah, exactly.
But yes, it is in French, so prepare yourself to read subtitles.
Yeah.
But it's at such a breakneck speed that I feel like even if you tend to get bored reading subtitles in movies, it wouldn't bother you much.
Honestly, I mean, we're not at the negatives or the cons yet, but
Yeah.
I'd say that was actually a con for me.
Wow.
The pace of the movie was...
Sorry you can't read.
It no, it wasn't that. No. Fuck you, bitch. No, it wasn't the reading. It was the pace, of the movie.
yeah.
It was like they just info dump.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, from a foreigner's perspective, it's kind of hard to keep up with.
Yeah.
Like there's that whole middle section where everything starts, all the shit starts to hit the fan.
Yeah.
Where they force the servant to explain what's going on, and he does, and it's like, yeah, if I understood these various religions and myths and
cultures,
stories,
yeah.
and then I would have some semblance of connection to why this is such a serious thing and why immediately everyone takes it seriously.
Sure.
But there's not one skeptic in the building.
Yeah. Well, no. Weren't a couple of them like, that's bullshit?
They were saying, I mean, from what I gathered, which again, it was at such a breakneck speed.
Yeah.
From what I gathered, it wasn't that they were calling bullshit on his story as like not being real so much as they were like, nah, he left 100 years ago. He has nothing to do with this land. Yada yada. Like your story is false. Not
Right,
that
right.
it couldn't happen.
Sure.
But that your story doesn't add up.
Well, and I think it helps that we set the stage with magic being real in general.
Or that they at least believe it.
Sure.
Like we're not told that it's real until late, or we're not shown that it's real until later. We are
Right.
shown that they believe in their witch doctor partner.
Right. Yeah, I guess magic's the wrong word, but like mysticism is very deeply entwined in this movie.
Yeah.
So-
Well, there's that. No point. Is there any kind of I don't know how you would.
Like disbelief.
Yeah. Everyone's just like, well, yeah, sure, spirits. We just need to get away from them.
Right.
Like, not one person is like, get the fuck out of here.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which I think, and again, I don't want to. The problem with judging this movie on those kind of merits is like we don't understand those cultures
it's not ingrained
well
in
enough
us,
to, So, but it does. again, from a foreigner's perspective, it does feel like the movie was filmed. It was written and filmed by people who there's no conceit that this is or isn't real. And like
Right.
it's of course that's already
That's a foregone conclusion,
right.
Yeah,
That this is real. This is
Right.
this could happen.
Right.
You know.
or it's a like well-tread ground.
Yeah.
Like these stories, these myths, King X and Y, and all
Like,
that.
well,
kind
we're all supposed to just know these characters.
that groundwork is laid culturally.
It was-
most likely. I mean, we don't know because we're
Well,
not Senegalese.
Yeah, but it did feel like it felt like they moved so quickly over that information that it was like almost a drag for them to even be going over it. It's like
Yeah.
it's almost like they look at the camera and go, "You guys got this, right? We don't need to, we'll just move on to the scary stuff."
Yeah. Yeah.
It would be like somebody who grew up, Buddhist or from Senegal or somewhere else, and then they watched a movie, and it would be like a movie based in like The Exorcist or any kind of movie that's based in like Christianity.
Sure.
And like
You have to understand about the devil, God, demons,
yeah,
exorcisms,
right,
all those
possessions,
things.
and things like that, but not just the idea of possessions, but like the Catholic idea of possessions and how
those are combated.
Yeah.
All the customs and prayers. And
Yeah.
things
So
like
like the exorcism, if you saw them in this bedroom, like throwing holy water and repeating these hymns and things like that, you'd be like,
yeah.
what am I
is
supposed
that?
to? What? Yeah. What is that? How you do it?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
But anyway, that was I don't know that part didn't take me out of it. It was just like watching a car just drive too fast, and you're like, I didn't get the plates. It just moved too fast. I mean,
Yeah.
I would love for it to like come back around,
Right.
drive a little slower, so I can figure out
Yeah.
what I'm looking at.
Yeah.
Not a huge deficit for me. Not something that's gonna dock the movie a lot of points, but
Sure.
still kind of it's tough.
So, you know what? Let's go ahead and get into, full tilt the negatives first, because
Okay.
I do want to celebrate this movie. I think generally this show for October is overall celebratory, but we still have to review
It doesn't have to be. The movie sucks. The movie sucks.
Well, that's true, but I'm trying to curate so that nothing ever sucks.
Okay, right. We are celebrating these filmmakers.
Yes. However, that doesn't mean they're perfect. So,
Right.
along with that, I will say I do think you could feel the budget at times.
Yeah.
It's very clearly not like a Hollywood movie, which can be a good and bad thing. I want to bring that back up for the positives, actually, too. But, some of the effects don't look great.
Some don't land.
Yeah. So that's something, too. And,
The plane sequence was hilariously bad.
yeah.
Don't even cut to the camera outside the plane,
Yeah.
Didn't need that.
Yeah.
Just keep it in the cockpit.
Just stop lingering on it.
Yeah. Because
Yeah.
then it just looks like green screen and them shaking in their seats to make it seem like there's turbulence. It's like, don't do that.
Yeah. So I will say that as well. Yeah, I mean, I do feel like, and again, this is a two-sided coin for me, but there isn't much satisfaction by the end of the movie. When I first watched it, I left it like kind of breathless. Not only because of the pace, but because we grow to love these mercenaries, this core group, especially after it's unveiled that they're actually heroes. And to have our hero get his justice but then be punished for it felt cruel, and I guess that's the point, but it felt off tone for the rest of the movie ahead of it, where so much of this movie is told in a really visually interesting, cool, off the cuff way that tackles very heavy subjects, but is told in like a very pulpy way that I felt the ending was a bit of a gut punch that I'm not sure it necessarily earned, or felt for the movie. I've accepted it now, and I actually like it. But at first I felt like it almost betrayed the story it was telling, because I felt like our hero deserved sort of a redemption. And it kind of feels like he didn't learn his lesson, and therefore he got killed.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, or that there wasn't enough moments in the movie to allude to the fact that, like, revenge is this poisonous, double-sided sword, and that, you don't gain anything from exacting your revenge and all that stuff. And it's a thing that's only gonna, like, the only thing that you get is the narration in the beginning that kind of lets you know that this is a revenge tale.
Right.
And all it does is just allude to revenge. It doesn't even let you know that this is a revenge tale, quote unquote, or per se. So I think that, to your point, there needed to be more moments in the movie that just let us know that, like, more foreshadowing of, if you do this, there's no going back.
Right.
And once he exacts his revenge, even in that moment, it doesn't feel like there's no going back moment.
It feels cathartic. It
does.
feels good.
Because once you learn the immediacy of learning why we're actually there, which is he sabotaged the plane purposefully.
Shaka did.
Did. So that he could get to Saloum. He knew where he was, and he was trying to get there to exact his revenge.
Yeah, without telling his crew.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Once we find out why he's there, and he does what he does, the audience is like, fuck yeah.
Yeah. Well, not only that, but then he also saves a bunch of child soldiers, too.
Right.
So it's like...
And he also saves everybody who was there, minus, Omar and the servant. He's part of saving or as much as he can.
He tries to.
Yeah, he put the,
Right.
So...
And they heroically sacrifice themselves, or at least put themselves in the line of fire, the mercenaries do, to save people.
Yeah.
They are heroes.
Yeah.
So, I think maybe it would have helped if, and mind you, I'm not trying to fix this movie by any means. I think it's a well-told movie.
Well, it ain't perfect.
Yeah, but, I think maybe if we found out that he knew about the curse and he knew what doing that would do, and it was like a selfish act.
Yeah.
And he didn't tell anybody, and that's what happened.
Or if the movie was, or if the whole thing was the mercenaries were trying to convince him not to do this, or if the witch doctor knew that he was, I don't know if it's offensive to keep calling him the witch doctor or not. If it is, I apologize.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know how else to describe him.
What's another term? A shaman. A shaman.
If shaman is less offensive, let's go with shaman for now. Because it's, I don't know if witch doctor is offensive or not, but
it might be.
It seems offensive to me only because there's that one song where the guy's like, ting tang walla walla bing bang, ooh ee ooh ah, you know that song?
Yeah.
He's like, I told the witch doctor I'm in love with you, and it just sounds offensive because it sounds like a white guy who doesn't know what a fucking, and he's just like, I told the witch doctor, and you're like, what are you talking about? Yeah, it seems like it. I don't know though. It could just be a harmless word. Is it a slur?
Is witch doctor a slur?
This isn't even like, I just want to be respectful. You know what I mean?
Is the term witch doctor offensive or problematic?
Whole article written about it?
Well, this is a Reddit.
Oh. I told the witch doctor that I'm in love with you. And then the witch doctor apparently is the one with the squeaky voice who says ting tang ooh ee ooh ah ah ting tang walla walla bing bang. Ooh ee ah ah ting tang walla walla bing bang. Ooh ee ooh ah ah ting tang walla walla bing bang.
I don't have an answer.
Okay.
So I mean,
Let's
I
just
guess
keep going with witch doctor.
It depends on the person. That seems
or
to
shaman.
be
Either one.
the answer.
Whichever
Yeah.
one rolls off your tongue better. Anyway, Where was I going with that?
I will say, according to Merriam-Webster, it does sound offensive by definition.
Yeah.
Because it's a professional worker of magic, usually in a primitive society, who often works to cure sickness. So I feel like that is derogatory.
That's Merriam-Webster getting weird with the primitive part. Don't need that.
Yeah, I don't like that.
What does that mean? Primitive according to whose standards?
Right.
Whites.
Merriam-Webster. But yes, the
Witch doctor.
stop it. Stop that. But yes. What were you saying?
I don't remember.
Okay. Well, I'm glad we went on that tangent.
The witch doctor.
I'll just say his character name. It is Minwi.
Minwi. Mr. Minwin.
Minuit.
Minwi.
Minwi? Minwi.
Mr.
So
Minwi.
we should
Yeah, let's just go with the character names.
get the character
Minwi,
names. Shaka and Rafa.
Rafa. I knew that was his name.
Yeah.
I saw it in my head, but I couldn't remember if that was Shaka's fake name that he used to trick them. So Shaka, Rafa, Minwi.
Right.
So-
Rafa's the muscle.
Mr. Minwi. Bro, I forgot where I was. I lost my train of thought. I don't even know where I was going.
You said that you weren't sure if he knew if what Chaka's intentions were, or if he knew if.
Oh, yes. Thank you.
If you would have known that, then
Then, well, yeah, it just if he, they could have used him as the character to because there are moments where he's like, he knows what's going on. He knows it's something's amiss, something's afoot.
right.
We're being watched. He understands that there is a
And that Shaka's not telling them everything.
Yeah, so he knows
from
there's-
almost the very beginning. He's like, he's not telling us the whole story
right
here.
And in those moments, could have been moments where instead they got a little bit more literal with what's happening, and Minwi could have been like, if you do this, there's no coming back, yada yada yada. So at least there's some they don't have to tell us that he's there to exact his revenge. There could just be these little moments of dialogue where he's just like, there's no coming back if we go through with this. What, we're together to the end, which is what they say. But you have to know that your spirit will never come back from this. Things like that,
Yeah,
just to
yeah.
let us know that, like, because I mean, I agree. I agree at the end when he's taken by the river of darkness, that like it does feel a little. You feel cheated.
Yeah.
You're like, I mean, everybody. I can't name a person who wouldn't do what he did.
Right.
And I mean, unless you're applying for sainthood, I can't imagine a person being above his actions,
Sure.
or not at least being able to empathize with his actions.
Yeah.
And then not only that, but he continues to be a hero, the protagonist.
Yeah. Yeah.
All for him to just. But then again, I do. Movie was already dark and sad enough. I do like a good sad ending.
Oh, sure. Yeah. And again, I'm only saying this is one side of the coin for
Yeah.
me on that ending. I think it may be the sentimental, like, American Hollywood ending loving side of me that
Yeah.
would have liked to see a happy ending, and some kind of like peace for this character, because I feel like he earned it.
Or if he was gonna die a different way.
Sure. Yeah, a heroic, like, sacrificial death.
Yeah. Maybe when they're leaving, he
holds them
can't
off.
he can't go on the water.
Mhm.
His fear is too much.
Yeah.
And so he holds off the spirit so that they can escape.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah, we're just gonna rewrite these guys'
Okay.
movie.
Sorry, Jean-Luc
Herblot?
Herblot.
Herblot.
Sherry, French check.
Yeah.
How do you
Think it's-
pronounce Herbulot?
It's like the watch.
Wait.
A Hublot.
How do you
Oh.
Hublot.
Hublot.
Jean-Luc Hublot.
Herbulot.
HURB
Herbulot.
Herbulot.
Herblot.
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 H is silent.
Herblot.
Herbulot.
Oh, so it's just Jay-Z who mispronounces that word.
The J is silent.
A-Z.
Herblo.
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 Jean-Luc
Herblo. I'm sorry, Jean-Luc. We don't mean to step on your movie.
Yeah.
With that, unless you have any other negatives to add, we can go to the positives.
No, I got nothing.
Okay,
No
good.
more
Good.
negatives.
That's what I wanted.
Yeah.
So I'll let you go first. What are your positives of this film?
You know what I really liked about this movie? It reminded me of Predator in that it could have been a completely different movie until we get to the supernatural part.
Yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
For the first 45 minutes of this movie, I was completely engaged. It's so good.
Yeah.
The story by itself of these mercenaries, well, pseudo mercenaries, not really even murderers, they're being paid in bricks of gold to extract this Mexican drug lord, and someone sabotages their plane, and they have to land at this this like makeshift village hotel, and they have to keep their covers from being blown. But there's a girl there who is probably from some village nearby who recognizes them.
She has their card,
Yeah.
their playing card that they leave on their
Yeah.
victims, supposedly.
And then a cop shows up, of all people, and you're like, he obviously is there because he knows what's going on. So it would have been this like really cool cat and mouse game of like keeping your cover from being blown while trying not to murder anybody, while still trying to escape, and also trying to figure out who sabotaged their plane.
It's very Tarantino.
Yeah,
It's guns under the table.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That movie already was really, really good.
Yeah.
You know? And then you add in the supernatural aspect of it, which all kept it, it was a good left turn.
Yeah.
Had I not known, if we just watched it and we weren't doing it, obviously I know that there has to be some kind of horror or supernatural element because we're doing it for this.
Well, and I hold that thought. The entire fact that it's hosted on Shudder is a tell in itself.
Yes.
Unfortunately.
Yeah, definitely.
So
Yeah.
But
So that doesn't help.
Yeah.
That doesn't help. So if I had watched it with nothing ahead of time and watched it on Netflix and not Shudder, and if it wasn't called a horror movie, you'd be remiss if you didn't think that it was like a different movie, like a completely different movie. So I did really, really like that about it.
Yeah. I to be honest with you, I bent the definition of horror to get us to watch this movie.
Yeah, you did.
Because it's a thriller and almost more of an action movie more than anything else.
Yeah.
It has horror elements.
Again, I think if we were more in tuned to the stories, that it may have been at least creepier.
Yeah.
What was going on to these, because the characters, I thought the way that it's described that they die was really good.
Yeah.
I guess. All right. Let me backtrack a little bit. I did have one tiny qualm.
Okay.
I wish they had gotten a little more creative with the deaths, considering they had, in my opinion, a lot to work with.
Sure.
With these demons, these people get taken over by these demons, and they're basically, like you said, like locusts or like an ember that takes over their body, which means that they can kind of be wherever and do whatever.
Yeah.
And the way that they're described as dying is if they hear the demons, then they literally eat their senses from the inside out and kill them that way.
Yeah.
So they lose all 5 senses in this agonizing death.
Yeah.
I thought that they could have gotten more creative with that had they had more time.
Yeah, and I have to think some of that's a budgetary thing too.
Yeah.
But I agree. It would have been more horrific if we were to see more of that.
Yeah.
And also too, it's a little I don't know, a little vague on exactly how it works because remember we have the what's her name? Sephora, was it? The other lady in the group.
Yeah.
I think that's her name. But she's blinded as opposed to just having the whole full throw up, dying, convulsing thing that
At first.
right. It eventually leads to her doing that. But I have questions about that. Like, why didn't it attack her hearing first? Unless it already did, but we didn't see her ears bleeding or anything like that.
I think
We just saw her eyes bleeding and like
from what I could gather, if you hear them, it doesn't necessarily attack your hearing first. That's just their way into your soul,
right.
and they attack whatever senses
they
first.
want.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
Yeah. All right. I'll buy it.
yeah.
I'll buy it. But anyway,
Back to the
back to the
pros,
positives.
The positives.
Yes. Okay. I mean, this is one of the most video game ass movies I've ever seen. And I mean that in the best of ways.
Yeah.
So, I mean, other than like the arresting characters and visual style this thing has that I find is like completely unique and cool. I mean, it's like so Metal Gear Solid.
Yeah.
It is so Metal Gear Solid. And that and like Resident Evil smashed together in one. And I just love the style of this entire thing. Like all the mercenaries, I love those characters. I want them to be in more stuff like together. I want that team back because they just work so well.
Yeah.
I was blown away. That and like, though you can see the seams in this movie from time to time. I think what Jean-Luc Herbelot was able to do is incredible. I thought it was really refreshing and surprising that a clearly lower budget movie in a culture that I'm not familiar with, clearly, I said Senegal.
Yeah, Senegal.
Snaggletooth.
It's Senegal. It's Senegal is right.
Yes.
Senegal.
Yeah, exactly. But having this little exposure to Senegal and the people and through the lens of a Congolese director, like having those influences and cultures and actors, because like I even looked up on IMDb and a lot of these actors don't even have like headshots in here. So like, I mean, I just found it so refreshing to see new actors I haven't seen before, a new vision from a director I'd never seen before, who's apparently done some pretty good things before with the character or the actor who played Chaka, Jan Gael, who I thought was great.
He was fantastic.
So I would love to see more of everyone in all these capacities do more stuff. So I'm hopeful and excited that they will get to do so. This movie was featured in the 2021 Toronto International Film Festival, which it got good press for. So I'm hopeful that they got their money and they're able to do something in the future together.
Yeah. The cast is a huge plus.
Yeah.
Stellar. Everyone was fantastic. Shaka, I think, is just so good throughout. Yeah. He just is... I mean, he's unstoppable, man. He just shows like the full range of emotion. He's so charming at the dinner. The way that he does the sign language with the girl, what's her name? What's her character's name?
Awa.
Yeah, right, Awa. That scene, I mean, it's just played so well. And the filmmaking of that scene is played so well too, where this tension is building. And again, if you don't know that there's this spiritual aspect that's about to happen like 25 minutes later, What you've got is a very real thing where this girl who you don't know her intentions yet, and she knows who they are, and she is threatening to expose him. All along, she just wants to go with them. She's a fan, but you don't know that.
Right.
From
And they're
the jump.
thinking about killing her.
Right. So
Yeah.
there's this real level of tension. I mean, it's fantastic. It's
Yeah.
just, it's, I mean, it was, hair-raising scene.
Yeah.
And then the cop
The
shows up.
surprise cop.
And you're like, how can you raise the stakes
Right.
any higher?
Yeah.
Oh, it's fantastic.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
And they all play it so well. They're
Yeah.
so good. Oh, the actor who plays Omar or FKA Remington,
Right.
he was amazing.
Yeah.
Super charming.
Mm-hmm.
You had no idea how evil he actually was.
Right.
Oh, it's great.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
The cast is a major plus for the cast.
100%.
Yeah, they're fantastic. I'm trying to think of another. I mean,
Soundtrack was great.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, the movie, the first like 5 to 10 minutes of it, I mean, I turned to you and I was like, this movie's dope as fuck. Like,
Yeah.
it's just the way it's shot in the beginning. You're like, what's this movie about? Because I will watch 30 hours of this. This is fucking sick,
Yeah,
man. These mercenaries go from town to town, just taking people out, fucking extracting or killing drug lords. And what the fuck was a Mexican drug lord doing in Senegal anyway?
Selling drugs.
That's
what I
I
would
guess
assume.
that's his primary occupation.
Probably.
I think, they do a good job of, even though it was hard, there was moments that it was hard to keep up with.
Yeah.
They do a good job of like at least keeping your attention. The movie is well shot within their budgetary limits, and it's impeccably acted. And so those strengths are kind of hold the movie together.
Yeah.
In the moments where you're like, I don't really know what's going on,
Yeah.
or you can kind of see the cracks in the budget and stuff like that.
Yeah.
At least everybody else is picking up the slack.
Yeah.
So I think that's a major plus. Again, is like everyone else who's involved really does the most with not a lot of material.
Yeah. Well, and I think it's a testament to Jean-Luc Herblot that he has such a style that, though it's reminiscent of other things, and I mean, for all I know, he's never picked up Metal Gear Solid. It's just
Right.
looks very cool, or seen a Tarantino movie, but it's very reminiscent of those auteurs, and I think it's a good sign when a director can use what they have to make something that looks that cool.
Yeah.
Because I mean, it can only feasibly get better, knock on wood, with a bigger budget, right?
Yeah.
Like that's the hope.
Yeah.
I mean, there's of course John Woo, which happens sometimes, but we won't talk about that.
Some guys just don't need more money.
It's true. But yeah, I mean, I just want to kind of.
Sorry, it's Jean Woo.
Jean Woo.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm
The
sorry.
J is silent.
You didn't even say it silently.
I know.
The J's in front of the Woo. So yeah, I mean, I think we should probably
Jean Ju.
Jean
Jean-Ju.
Jean Ju.
Jean Ju.
Oh Ju.
Oh, Ju.
I did my sandwich in that. So I think we should get to what we really thought about the movie, what we would rate it, would we recommend it to the larger audience, which I've kind of already spoiled because I would. Sorry.
I would definitely recommend this film for people who, if you're keeping up with this series and looking for a good horror recommendations,
Horror.
I would say no, sorry. It's a little misleading because it wasn't scary.
Hey, get over it.
Yeah, I mean, it just wasn't scary. It just wasn't scary. It wasn't scary. It's not a frightening film. But the thing is, again, the idea of what's scary is defined by like our understanding of things, right?
Sure. And I will push back on that a little bit because I feel like it isn't scary in the sense of like boo, like jump scares and things like that. But the subject matter, once we get into it, of child soldiers is absolutely frightening.
Well, no, that's what I'm saying.
It's horrific.
The fear comes from our understanding of these different cultures. And the more you understand about those things, the scarier that it gets. If you understand, like what that man unimaginably did to those kids,
Sure. Yeah,
and
yeah,
what
yeah.
he did to Shaka for him to
Right.
carry this torch for his entire life,
Yeah.
and put his friends' lives on the line, put his fortune on the line, put everything on the line,
Yeah.
just to exact his revenge. It was obviously burning for him.
Yeah.
And not only that, but Omar's role in being this shepherd or whatever he was to this, like all of those things, the more you understand about those cultures, the deeper a fear can get. Because, like, to go back to, say, The Exorcist, for example, if you grew up in a religious household, those things that are explored in those movies or in that movie is realer to you.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, like, my brother refuses to watch The Exorcist.
There you go.
We grew up in a Catholic household, so, there you go.
Yeah. And if you grew up in an atheist household and you watch that movie, you'd be like, this is a good movie, but I
Right.
don't like it's
This
not
is well made.
Yeah, it's nothing is.
Hey, look, pea soup.
What am I supposed to be afraid of?
Yeah.
Because obviously that's bullshit, right? Or it's just a horror movie, and it's just a movie. So anyway, I say that it's unscary or not scary only because of my lack of understanding of those cultures.
Sure.
I think if I understood them a little bit better, it would resonate with me more. As it stands, the way that it's filmed is not very frightening. There's
Sure.
nothing around the corner. There's nothing creepy. There's no subtext to the villains other than the horrific things that they did in real life, which are awful, but not scary.
Right.
You know?
Right. They're horrific, but not frightening in that sort of jump scare way.
Yeah. And even like they're not really even like scary enough to like unsettle you. Like The Shining is unsettling to a point that like stays with you.
Well, and I think the things in this movie could unsettle to that level, obviously, because they're very real. Child soldiers
Unsettle
are
to that level.
Thank you. Spitting bars. Child soldiers are obviously a real phenomenon, even to this day.
Yeah.
But the way, and again, this goes back to my point about the ending of this movie. I think the way that it's shot is in such a, I don't know, like, I wouldn't say optimistic, but in such an action-packed, like, blood-pumping, heroic way, you know? It's not shot like The Shining. It's not unsettling in that way. Or even, like, something more comparable is, like, the Beasts of No Nation.
Yeah.
That tackles child soldiers as well.
Yeah.
That's a very, somber, dramatic look at similar issues.
And maybe this movie should have been shot that way.
Maybe, but it wouldn't have been nearly as fun. So
It was fun.
It was
but
a lot
that
of
kind
fun.
of takes away from how frightening it can be. The more fun a movie is, how can you be afraid when you're having so much fun? I was delighted. It was a thrill ride.
I know.
It was great.
Yeah.
Everybody was fantastic. Everybody was funny. There was not one scene that I wasn't like, man, that was good. I like that.
Yeah.
And it was fantastic. So it's like, how can you be afraid when you're having so much fun?
Yeah. Well, that's a good point.
I don't know. Tonally, it kind of maybe shoots itself in the foot a little bit.
A little bit, but I respect it for being as fun as it is, given the subject matter, because it takes that stuff very seriously, but has a lot of fun on the sides of all that. You know, like the elements of seeing the child soldiers being freed, and the flashbacks obviously are very affecting and suitably handled. I feel like deftly handled in a movie that could have been schlocky in someone else's hands, but I think the fact that it is so rooted in African culture and pays respect to that story being told, it works. And I think if you were to send an American to go over there and make that same movie,
Eventually.
it would have been a schlock fest and probably not handled as well and been very exploitive and
Yeah.
not done as well as it was, thankfully,
Yeah.
by Jean-Luc.
Jean-Luc. If your name's not John Carpenter, just leave it alone.
Jean Carpenter?
Jean Carpenter.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Jean Opender.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The T is silent. Anyway, I would give the movie a... I'd probably give it a 4.75. I think that its length, its tonal shifts, and it's hard to keep up with plot hamper it.
Yeah.
But its strengths are in its filmmaking, its cast, and just, I mean, how well the movie is done overall.
Yeah.
But I think that in the short amount of time that we live with these characters, we fall in love with them. But I think that given more time, we would have been able to explore these themes a little bit better, kind of round it out a little bit more, and maybe give justice, not in like a cathartic way, but justice to the ending of the movie that makes more sense. That like you can live with, as far as like that was an earned ending to this movie. Whether you walk away from it happy or not is a different story. But
Sure.
There needs to be justice in by that definition. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So 4.75.
Yeah. I'll agree with you. I was right on the edge there as well, but for all the reasons you said, I just really hope this is a launch pad for everyone involved.
Yes.
I really do. I can't tell you how much I want to see more of all these characters, these actors, this director. Yeah. I mean, I was sort of reinvigorated by the fact that this was a hidden gem that I wouldn't have known other than if Twitter told me about it. And actually, the way that it was described on Twitter was in the vein of From Dusk Till Dawn, which I get.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, definitely.
So that sort of twist midway through the movie, very apt observation.
By the way, we could just do From Dusk Till Dawn. We don't have to do it, obviously, for Sober October because it's a bunch of white people. Well, actually, Robert Rodriguez made that movie, so...
is Mexican, so Mexican-American. We could do that.
We don't have to leave it. We don't have to take a space. So, but I'm just saying, like, From Dusk Till Dawn's classic. That would be fun to do. That would be fun to just talk about.
Yeah, agreed. Well, yeah, I think we covered most of the bases here. Again, apologies to all of Senegal, really.
Yeah, all of
we're sorry.
all African nations.
We're sorry, Jean-Luc Herblot.
Linguists.
Yeah.
We're sorry to the inventors of sign language.
Yes, the deaf.
Yeah, the deaf and mute community. Sorry to them. Yeah.
Apologies all around.
Please know that this was all done with the best intentions, and if any phrase or any turn
Terminology.
of phrase or terminology that we used that was offensive, it was from a place of ignorance.
We did not mean it. We are sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah. Go check out the movie though, and if you haven't already, what are you doing?
Seriously,
just let us ruin it for you.
Yeah, seriously. If you watch this whole thing and then you didn't watch the movie, or you haven't seen the movie, I don't
shame
know what
on
you're
you.
doing.
Shame.
Still, go watch it.
Sure. Yeah.
Support Jean-Luc and everybody involved.
And
but
Shudder. It's. I mean, I
Shudder.
won't get on this pedestal again, but
He's already done it.
Shudder's a great app.
I think you did a Cheers of the Week to Shudder.
I did.
The app.
I have done that.
Yeah.
I did do that.
You did do that.
I'd be doing that.
He'd be doing it.
Okay, so let's finish off with not a review, but just a general idea of what we thought about these beers.
Good idea, Adam. I mean, it was a deep, more like pumpkin spice.
Yeah.
Than it was like just straight up
Pumpkin.
a pumpkin ale, right?
Which I feel like most of them are. There's always a little bit of cinnamon in there, maybe a little allspice in the back.
Allspice for sure. What is the ingredient list? I know they have it on here. Pumpkin, cinnamon, nutmeg, clove, and cardamom. I don't know if I've ever heard of cardamom. Cardamom?
Like a sweater?
Cardamom?
Cardamom.
Card.
Mim. Like cardamom.
But it's spelled cardamom. Cardamom.
Cardamom.
Is that,
Sorry again.
is that offensive?
Cardamom.
Yeah, interesting.
You got your pumpkin. You got your cinnamon. Your nutmeg. Your clove. Your cardamom.
We're both Caribbean. It's fine,
Yeah,
right?
fuck it. We're both Caribbean.
It's fine.
Is that how it works? As long as you're from any like West
Yeah.
Indian nation, you can.
It's associated.
Yeah.
Ish.
Yeah.
You guys went to Puerto Rico at some point, right?
Yeah. It's fine.
Yeah.
I thought it was okay.
Oh. Okay.
Hold on. Yeah, I thought it was okay.
Okay. Yeah.
I thought 10% is pretty high for what we were drinking because it didn't feel like 10%.
Sure.
Didn't feel like.
Less apparent than the 12 to 14% we had last week.
Oh, yeah, 1,000,000%
Yeah,
for sure.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And so in that regard, they did a pretty good job of like covering that up. But on the other hand, the sweeter a beer is, the easier it is to kind of cover that up because that
Sure.
sweetness is
Sure.
kind of blocking that. Or
Well, and they go hand in hand. The
masking it.
alcohol content
Right.
sweetens it up.
Right.
Anyway.
Right.
So,
So, yeah. Would I drink it again? I'm gonna.
it wins that award at least.
Yeah. Would
Yeah.
I buy it? No. But I am curious as to what D9 has to offer.
Yeah.
So we'll leave it at that.
Fair enough. Yeah, I mostly agree. I think it's a little too sweet for my liking, personally. I think that's to be expected for 10%.
Yeah.
But that being said, I'll finish it.
I'll finish
I'll
it.
finish it. It's good for the season if you're looking for a heavier pumpkin beer hitter.
It's the most wonderful time. Wait, that's the wrong song.
I'd say go check it out.
Yeah.
Do you think we got it?
I think we do, sir.
All right. Well, this has been the One Reel In podcast. That's been Marco Dupa.
Hello.
I've been Adam Obesis Rodriguez. I hope you join us again for the next installment, third of the fourth. Please join in on the spooks. And I think we're all tapped out.
You're getting better and better at this, you know that?
Let's all go to the
Let me pour that for you. Oh, wow.
Let's all go to the
Oh.
Let's all go to the Let's all go to the lobby to get ourselves a treat.